Well, hello everyone. Good afternoon, and thank you so much for joining us for this national call where we are really excited to share with you the next stage of our organizational development, the announcement of a new national gathering that we are going to be working on for the next 12 months. In fact, a year from now, we hope to see you in Denver, Colorado. On the call today, we have myself, Richard McCarthy. I'm calling in from our national headquarters in Brooklyn. And joining me is a colleague many of you know, Krista Roberts, who's the director of Slow Food Denver, and with whom we have been working closely with the last 2 years to spearhead the Slow Meat Gathering, which we have been working on first as a Slow Food USA initiative, but it became a global slow food initiative, very soon. And from that experience, we have learned a great deal about what an internal gathering around a key issue of meat could mean, but we also learned a great deal about gatherings. And I'd like to introduce Krista, who's going to be joining me today.
Hi everyone, it's Krista calling in from Denver. As Richard mentioned, I've been the chapter director in Denver for a number of years and was also honored to be part of the team who launched and organized the Slow Meat convenings in 2014 and 2015. I'm happy to join Richard today to share the initial details about Slow Food Nations with all of you and really look forward to working together as we create this exciting event.
Thank you, Krista. So we've got, a little under an hour. We want to give to you an overview of what we know on this date about an event that'll be happening a year from now. In terms of the logistics of the calls, if you're phoning in from a cell phone, please do remember to mute, because whether you're in a taxi, driving a truck, there may be background noises that'll make it difficult for the conversation to be heard. If you have any questions, there is a chat function if you're online, and by all means, chat in a question, and if there is time, either at the end or in follow-up meetings and emails, we can certainly answer those questions. So what we're really excited to talk about is, as you know, for the last year, we have been doing a very serious evaluation about our organization, its past, its present, future, our strengths, the things that we succeed in, and the things that we struggle with. And whether it is our chapter reports, which I know you all are, if you're a chapter leader, you're very well aware of how thorough that is. One of the things that ran very clearly and strongly through the strategic planning process is that what we all do, whether we're in a local community, hey there, welcome. We are just getting started, so I'm glad you're here on this call. Is one of the things that we have learned is that what we do well is that we inspire individuals and communities to change the world through food that is good, clean, and fair for all. And that act of inspiration is one that, whether you're writing a grant report or a proposal, it may seem vague or difficult to measure. It is certainly difficult to measure inspiration, but it is a real thing. And it's a real thing that happens when we are intentional about our actions. And so what we have been doing in the last few months is reorganizing how we function at the national level to align ourselves with what is occurring at the international level, as well as learning from what you all may do at the local level. And these three areas of work are ones that seem to occur at all of these levels. We partner with other organizations. We clearly cannot do it all. We campaign around issues. There are moments when we rally together, and there are moments that we take a pause. And those campaigns that are inspirational, that may reach out beyond our core group of true believers, and that involve a call to action. And then, of course, the very call to action that we want to talk about today is the act of gathering. One thing that we are, I think, particularly competent at doing in slow food, and the way in which we approach food as fellowship, food as pleasure, food as a safe haven for people to explore um, what is working and what needs to be improved in our food system is the very act of gathering. And it is a gathering that we are excited to share with you that which we know today. And it is, I think, important to note that this next year is going to be an extraordinary adventure. We begin to develop a business model around this undertaking. But we wanted to communicate to you all at this stage um, where we are and what the next steps look like and what our vision of this gathering is. If you've joined us late and you don't have your mute button on your phone, please do mute so that uh, everyone can hear clearly. Thanks. So a year from now, Bastille Day next year, July 14th through 16th, we certainly hope that you'll put a fork in the ground and join us in Denver, Colorado, building upon the very inward, safe conversations that we've held the last 2 years around slow meat and expanding that into calling on all of the slow food nations to join us in Denver for an idea that certainly in 2008, the first slow food nation in San Francisco really put slow food on the map at a whole nother level. What has occurred since 2008 is an extraordinary proliferation of a food movement that has become increasingly decentralized and inventive and in some ways balkanized. But it's in that exploration that so much innovation explored and traditions revived, and that we want to assemble all of the nations, all of the slow food nations at this gathering a year from now. We see this as a recurring gathering, and we see this as very much at the center of how we see as the core of what we do and what we will be doing as an organization. Now, I suspect that this does not come as a surprise if you've attended Terra Madre or Cheese or a regional slow food gathering, or you think of the docket of activities that you do that is so valued in your own local community. The act of gathering is something that we do because we create safe spaces for people. It's not doctrinaire, it's a place where people learn. And I think the way in which we gather is something that we hoped that we captured in Tom Duncan's Manifesto for Slow Food Gatherings. This appeared in the spring magazine, and I think it does capture the tactile learning. It's not all PowerPoints, it's actual sitting and learning and eating together. The manner in which how slow food gathers is I think, one of our strengths. And we know, especially for those of us who've sent delegates, helped delegates make it to Youth Terra Madre or Cheese or Slow Meat, is that, delegates may arrive as eaters, but they leave as leaders. And the fellowship that is established there is part of the process of creating that safe space for learning. Also, you may have caught wind of the recent reworking of our homepage. We have built into it a module where events, local events, global events, national events can be featured. And this is something that it's still in the kind of the beta stage, but will soon be ready for you as an organizer of local events on the ground can enter these events onto the site so that we can promote them and share the tapestry of activities that are occurring all over the country. So this is the promoting of how and that we gather, which is now very much featured prominently on our website. Now, as to the sort of nitty gritty details of this gathering, maybe it's probably best for me to turn this over to you, Krista, since you know Denver better than anyone as a Denver local, to give us some insights into the goals and the logistics and what to expect from Slow Food Nations.
Sure. Thanks, Richard. Um, so Slow Food Nations will gather leaders and eaters, farmers and chefs, educators and families for a weekend of tastings, tours, and talks. It will inspire individuals and communities to take action, big or small, around good, clean, and fair food. We're expecting throughout the weekend we'll have about 10,000 day visitors who will take part in this event in some way. In addition, we'll host about 500 delegates who will have a very important role, who will participate throughout the whole weekend and take leadership roles as appropriate. We also see this gathering as a unique and very slow food opportunity to forge links within our food movement. So when will this take place? Slow Food Nations will take place from July 14th through 16th of next year, 2017. And to carry on the success of Slow Meat, Slow Food Nations will take place in the same location, as Richard mentioned, in Denver, Colorado. It's exciting to me that Denver will be the location. As my hometown since 2001, I've witnessed Denver's growth in many ways, but especially in the area of food. And to give you an idea of the landscape and what is happening, the mayor's office recently appointed a city food manager whose first task is to outline a food vision for the city through 2020. Just recently, the National Resource Defense Council, or the NRDC, chose Denver as its second pilot location for a food waste study and national project in that area. The local food movement here in Denver and Boulder, our sister city, so to speak, is really exploding, not only in the area of dining and shopping and eating, but also in terms of the number of groups who are championing food access, hunger relief, and growing food for our community. And Denver's also a city that is currently a top choice to live and to work for many. It seems to be one of the favorites for various lists lately. What that means is that there is certainly a vibrancy here. Given all the growth, Denver is in the midst of a transformation, really. It's an interesting time, not without challenges, and food is really a currency of that change. So I think while to some, Denver may be an unexpected location for a food movement event like this, I think it represents some of what slow food likes to show us. Exciting things happening in food where you may least expect them. So instead of housing the event in a convention center, which is certainly logistically easier in some ways, we felt it made sense for a slow food event to also provide visitors with a sense of place. So following in the path of Slow Food Nation in 2008 in San Francisco, Terra Madre this year, and other previous slow food events, Slow Food Nations will be held right in the city of Denver, which will allow everyone to explore the city while experiencing the event. The center of the event will be hosted in the Rhino neighborhood of Denver, that's short for River North, and it's located just north of downtown and historically was an industrial area. Now these historic warehouses and factories are home to working studios, art galleries, craft breweries, because it's Colorado, wineries, distilleries, urban ag centers, restaurants, etc. Slow Food Denver is lucky to have our office in this neighborhood in a building called The Source, which is a former 1880s iron foundry that now houses a collective of food artisans and retailers. We're working closely with the owners of this space who are really excited about the idea of making this location the central hub for the Slow Food Nations event. So Slow Food Nations will be a vibrant gathering that will also meetings and gatherings are not necessarily enough. it's also important to allow for a space for educational opportunities and engagement for the general public. I think I'm on the next slide, Richard.
Yeah, yeah.
And then, um, so at the same time, there will be many opportunities for the public to engage, what we keep calling as external facing events. Each day will revolve around a grand tasting hall, which will include booths representing regions. These booths will provide tastings, opportunities to meet food producers, and learn more about food from different areas, all under the different flags of the Slow Food Nations. The hall will also highlight talks and mini workshops throughout the day and host a grand tasting bar that will include taste exploration of beer, wine, spirits, other beverages. Then beyond the grand tasting hall, guests will be able to join ticketed workshops and tours that are based on the different flags of the Slow Food Nations as well. For example, you may choose to attend a cheese-making workshop at a local goat farm one morning, followed by a craft beer tour in the afternoon. The next day could include a slow grain bread-making workshop, followed by a stop at the Mexican Heritage Foods Kitchen before meeting up with other delegates for the evening. Evenings will vary and allow for attendance at organized dinners, restaurant-hosted meals, casual meetups, etc. All of these things will come together internally and externally under the umbrella of Slow Food Nations. As you all may know, as Richard mentioned, Slow Food USA recently prepared a strategic plan, and events like this were seen as the core of what Slow Food can offer to our community. This event also represents an opportunity for expanding the revenue stream for Slow Food. The business model is represented here. The revenues will come through exhibitor fees, sponsorships, and ticketed attendees. And Slow Food Nations is really a very tangible representation of how Slow Food inspires and creates significant change through gatherings and celebrations and, of course, with joy. And then I think I'm going to turn it over to Richard to pick it up from here to talk about how chapters and others can participate and help create this event.
That's great. Thank you, Krista. And I just to follow up on one of Krista's points, I mean, one of the things that I think is particularly important and emblematic about why we are staging the event in Denver. For one, we've had considerable success and learning in working from Denver to establish Slow Meat, and have seen it grow in the 2 years that we ran it dramatically. And one of the things we really began to appreciate was that it was a meeting not occurring on the coasts. There are places where you expect to hear.
There's neighbors coming.
There are places where you expect to hear about the food movement alive and thriving, and there are places where it has not yet hit. And yet, wherever I travel, I see communities demonstrating incredible resilience and verve as they're reinventing their taste of place, and doing in a manner that engages with public health and economic development, as well as the important civic appreciation of what food can do to transform communities. And so I think it's really exciting to be able to move to the center of the country, to a place that is actually pretty accessible, and with its big sky sort of environment, it is also conducive to some big thinking. And here's where I want to begin to sort of give you an idea of how maybe you can participate. For one, chapters can be exhibitors. One of the things that I saw close up at the Slow Food Germany fair, the Slow Food fair in Stuttgart, was the role that chapters played in actually populating the floor of their grand tasting hall. And chapters were actually the sort of the fulcrum of the whole event, because what you began to see from Germany's standpoint was all the different parts of Germany, chapters coming and bringing their producers with them. So it becomes a shared collective expression of food from one ecosystem and another ecosystem, and this wonderful blend of community and commerce taking place. So that at, let's say here, like the Slow Food Rhineland booth that I've got up on the screen, they were showcasing wines of a particular winemaker they work with. They also had propaganda about the activities that they are doing in their community. Um, I'd love to see us populate the grand tasting hall with our slow food locals, our slow food communities, and expressing what is it that we're doing on the ground and why you should join us. Um, our our sense is that we are going to attract a great number of people from around the country. We certainly would not expect that chapters would be bringing necessarily fresh broccoli or fresh products, but there are so many value-added products that ship well and tell the story of what it means to reinvent the ecology of local economies through food. So serving food, tasting food, food that you can eat there, food that you can bring home. Um, I think this could make it very different from other gatherings. We also hope that chapters would nominate and help delegates make it to the event to spend the entire weekend there, involved with and gaining access to internal discussions, so that there is this public facing introduction to these food ideas that maybe newcomers will finally say, I wanted to learn about food, I want to attend this gathering. But then there are far more mature conversations that we hope that winemakers will sit down with winemakers, fishermen will sit down with other fishing folk. The slow meat conversations are already fairly well developed. So these would be some of the internal discussions, and we will make the space for that self-directed discussions. To play a leadership role in organizing talks, and that opportunity is there as delegates to really shape the nature and the language of the discussion. Attend delegate-only events, and of course access to the activities in the Grand Tasting Hall. There would be, in addition, the kind of a la carte activities, like you may recall from Terra Madre, attending culinary workshops, tours, and so forth. Now, what we have found, especially with the really well-developed slow meat and slow fish conversations, is that there are now communities, nations that are evolving, that are organizing around passions, interests. So the slow meat nation, slow fish, slow beer, slow grain, our slow chefs, the Chefs Alliance, and I'd say also indigenous communities who played a critical role in our slow meat discussions. The newly formed Turtle Island slow food would be an important reason why we are talking about this nations in a more plural sense, because there are many of us who inhabit the North America. So it may be that you are very active with a local chapter and you come and participate as a local chapter. You may come and participate as a convener of one of these nations. This is something that we are really excited to see take shape. And these are just ideas for starters of ones that we know that are likely to land at Slow Food Nations. We are also, as you may have seen from what Krista described, seeking sponsors. And whether this is you or people you know and folks that you think we should be talking to, there are the talks, the public conversations that staging the tastes, the slow fill in the blank. I mean, for slow wine, maybe we need 4 sponsors to be able to pull together a full menu of activities, whether it's tastings and tours and talks and internal conversations. We will be seeking sponsors for that. The tours, and also mechanical things like the shuttle buses, because if what we are looking at is probably a constellation of spaces that we will inhabit, it won't all be in one place. We want people to get out and get into the city, but we'll probably be, having ancillary events in nearby buildings. So we anticipate that while there is a light rail system right there in that neighborhood, that there may be a need for shuttle buses, say to the Terra Madre kitchen. And then lastly is, my gosh, we want you to be there. We want to see you in Denver. This is going to be an incredible gathering, and for you to attend the gathering as a participant or as a delegate, depending on how deeply you want to get involved. We are certainly hopeful that there will be families who will attend for maybe just one day, maybe for several days of the weekend. There will be plenty of light learning that'll go on. There will be plenty of informal time. And as we know, you could structure the most formalized meeting. The things that people love more than anything is the informal time. Be able to spend time and learn from each other. This is certainly what we are hoping to take. Yeah, I'm off. Lost the connection. I'm back. I think I'm back. So we hope that you will attend the event as an attendee. Am I back? Great, I'm back. Sorry, I think the storms here are conspiring against me and my computer, so I'm sorry if I keep on cutting out. In terms of what's next, let me give you just sort of the insider's tour of what are some of the mechanics. For one, slowfoodnations.com does exist as a as a web address. This is on our Slow Food website. So if you go there, you'll see a very scant introductory page explaining what it is, when it'll be, and this page will begin to grow more complex in the upcoming months. We will have an exhibitor's brochure, and I want to say it may even be live now. You'll be able to download that live from the website. And we are looking for a great number of exhibitors. Whether everyone is in a 10 by 10 foot booth or whether they want more, there's more information on the exhibitor's brochure. We're looking for sponsors, and whether everyone comes in at the level of 20 sponsors at 10K or if it's 40 at 5, we know that that's going to be it'll be complex. It won't be as simple as 20 sponsors at 10K, but we are beginning to speak to companies who are supportive and aligned with our values. And if you have ideas, if you are one of them, we'd love for you to join us. The email address, sfnsales@slowfoodusa.org, is the one Slow Food Nation's web address, email address we do have up and running. And I think you can find that from the website as well. And again, these will become, there will be other email addresses, but we're focusing on the next few months on the development and logistics. So keeping that at SFN Sales. By all means, email us with some ideas. We're going to have future calls, some smaller ones where there's more time and room and attention for conversation with partner organizations. Krista mentioned NRDC, an organization that we work closely with on Slow Meat. My gosh, there's such an extraordinary array of organizations like the Farmers Market Coalition and Slow Money. I mean, there are many partners and sponsors who should be there with whom we want to collaborate with. Now, you can show your support online already if you just head to our Facebook page. Our profile picture is the Slow Food Nations logo with the fork. And by all means, make it your profile picture. We hope to create over the next few months, as we have pivoted to our new strategic direction around campaigns and gatherings and partnerships, but around the campaigns is that we really hope it will be an exciting national march towards Denver with engaging activities to do between now and then, with goals to reach, Arc of Taste products to present and bring to the gathering, to nominate. All of this is what we hope will be more than just an event that comes and goes, but something that we can work towards seeing each other each year there. Now, again, this is a little bit too much inside baseball for those who would much rather talk about what kind of cooking demos might there be, and what kinds of tours. But we did want to give you some of the kind of, the sense of the timing between now and January is a lot of the quiet development work of building our team and sponsors. In August, we're putting together materials. Next week, in fact, I'll be meeting two of our colleagues from Italy, from Slow Food International, to meet with local partners in Denver. We hope to secure some lead sponsors. I mean, right now we're beginning it going on that front. It is also worth noting that between now and, say, October, we also have a lot of other things going on. Member campaign, Terra Madre. At Terra Madre, we will certainly be promoting the idea that everyone should meet us in Denver a little less than a year from then. So there'll be a great deal of time and attention at Terra Madre for this. We are certainly wanting to line up, and I have to say this is an important point. We're wanting to line up as many lead exhibitors as early as possible, so that it can begin to snowball.
I'll just sit here. Is that okay? All right, Chloe, enjoy. I hope, and I'll see you a little bit later.
Oh, I think we've got someone not on mute. So if you're not on mute, do check it, please. We're going to be looking for conveners. Who wants to convene some of the different, the Slow Fish Nation? The extraordinary event in New Orleans earlier this year certainly feels like a national community, and who wants to begin to convene? What would be the meetings and the eatings at Slow Food Nations around slow fish or slow grains? And we'll be building social media resources during the next few months. By the time we get to November, December, we'll be finalizing the event schedule, like what will be the talks, where will the meetings be. We'll be hiring key vendors to actually execute pieces of it. We'll be calling for volunteers, and I would say that that is, anyone who's visited Terra Madre knows how many people who are wearing the aprons who are slow food volunteers. In January, we see opening up registration, and by the end of February, I think the early bird exhibitors rate closes, and we're in that kind of from March, April, May, June into July in order to launch the event. And with that, we certainly hope that you put your fork in the ground in Denver and join us at Slow Food Nations. I think this will be an important milestone of our role as a convener, as an organization that is welcoming, not overly doctrinaire. We meet people where they are, and we hope that they meet us where we will be in Denver, where it'll be the kind of the epicenter of the food universe in North America for a weekend, and that you all can bring the expertise, the insight that is being learned on the ground wherever you are. And with that, I don't know if, Krista, you've encountered any questions that have come in on the chat line. Certainly happy to field any. I also wanted to remind you that the recording of this will be available on the Slow Food Nation's website. So we will record this for anyone who has missed the call. We're thrilled that we've had so many people on the line.
Richard, I don't see any questions yet other than a few. We have the audio glitches.
I know. I'm sorry that as the storm came through, I may have disappeared for a few moments. So the cost for a booth, though, I did see Carol from Sonoma, you wanted to get some clarification, and I'll put that back up on the screen. And do encourage you to take a look at the exhibitor prospectus that is downloadable from our site. It's a PDF with maybe a little more details, but a lot of it is details for people who don't know slow food. I do you do know slow food. But you're correct. The $7.95 per 10 by 10 foot booth space. For any of you who have been at a conference, this will be, with a table and a tablecloth and chairs. There'll be opportunities for electricity. We're still working out the details of precisely where this will be, whether in a tent or in a building, but it'll be a site that is protected for 24 hours and will be, up for all 3 days of the gathering. I do see some other. I don't see a timeline of information on becoming a delegate. Bryce, that's a great question. And the whole delegate process. As we know, as Slow Food, if we can make things more complicated, we will. And the whole process of delegates does make it more complicated, but I think it also makes it more meaningful. The internal discussion where delegates, leaders in food, get to talk to other leaders in food is essential. What we envision is approximately 500 delegates for the weekend. The delegate process has not yet been determined. And I'd say that we want to get through Terra Madre before we. What would the next delegate process be? I would say that in the fall, by November, December, we'll have all of those details. I think we're going to have many calls before then to iron out what the delegate process will be. I would say that we will be looking for a broad representation of our country there. We will also be reaching out to our neighbors, Slow Food Mexico, Slow Food Canada, Slow Food Turtle Island to join us, but we have not yet determined precisely what the process will be.
I think we lost Richard again for a moment. Oh.
Yeah, the connection got lost. I'm back. So it is too early to know what will the delegate process be. In terms of, maybe I've missed some questions. Opportunities for local restaurants and chefs to be involved with the paid ones. How can we submit local restaurant candidates for consideration? Well, to this point, one thing that I know we found to be one of the great excitements and strengths, whether the Terra Madre Kitchen at Terra Madre or at Slow Meat, is we hope to be able to set up opportunities for local chefs to be working with the chefs that join this gathering. So the collaborations that'll take place either in the tasting hall, the brewmasters from different beer breweries working together, doing some special small brews with some of the expert brewers who will be attending. We hope that there will be a fairly fluid collaboration between local chefs as well as visiting ones, and whether that's in their restaurants or in the grand tasting, I think it'll probably be both. We certainly will be encouraging eating and dining out in the community and perhaps organizing, as we did for Slow Meat, dine-around activities. I don't know if there's anything, Krista, you can add to that.
I did want to add something to the point about the chapters and the booth costs that might give people some ideas about. I don't think that's necessarily all just on the chapters. I think the chapters could look at who might they bring with them, or who might they organize from their local region to share what's happening in Colorado. I think we're lucky that our tourism office has a whole committee that focuses on agritourism, and I would imagine if I were traveling elsewhere to do this, I would reach out to them to see how we might be able to partner together on getting a booth at this type of event. So just to give you some ideas that it's not necessarily all on just the chapters, I think there are ways to collaborate.
Richard,
Yes.
Richard, this is Jerry calling in Seattle.
How are you, Jerry?
I have two questions. One is that we have a theme called Slow Food Nation, and does it reflect or is it have any origins in the original Slow Food Nation's work that was done about 10 years ago that Gary Nabhan started and we kind of built into our system for a while?
It certainly is greatly inspired by it. I think when I look at the map of North America, I see so many different ways to interpret where we live, where we inhabit.
I'll be right there.
There is everything from, the raft map for the different food nations, the Pignon Nation, the Bison Nation, the Cornbread Nation. There's also the pre-European maps of North America that describe a very different set of political boundaries. They're the state boundaries. What we hope is by gathering such a diverse group of people together, we may help to share and inspire the different ways in which we can look at where we live, with whom we collaborate, and how we might grow a different kind of economy and polity. And that is very much at the core of what slow food is about.
Well, I was just wondering if any of the theme of demonstrating the nation was going to be built into it, but I'm sure you'll evolve that. My second question was whether or not you wanted to know the people that are not on your screen that are on the call.
Sure, although I may imagine that'll be difficult to ascertain. But I guess what would be the most helpful way is if you are on the call and you're not on the screen because you're calling in from a cell phone, by all means email it to the number that, hey, I was on the call. We certainly are going to be reaching out to those who have great interest and passion for this gathering. We know it's far away, but we also know that a year is going to move very quickly. We also know that when we're for those of us, the delegates who will be in Turin in a few months' time, we will be discussing and we'll have much more details to share at that gathering. But we will be looking for those who want to dive in deep. This will be an exciting and challenging gathering to assemble.
Richard, this is Krista. A couple of other questions have come through that you may not have seen. One from Stephanie, and I know Stephanie can't hear us, so we can chat her this too. But she made a point that one thing was very important to her, and others have chimed in from the Slow Food Nation event in 2008, was that all farmers and producers were not asked to donate their products, but paid a fair price. And would this be part of the guiding principles for this gathering?
Absolutely. And that is how we have staged Slow Meat, very much on those principles as well.
Correct. Okay.
Correct.
And then
Thank you. That's a very important point.
A couple of others asked about the dates that were chosen and that pointed out that they are during peak season of the harvest for many farmers. And just noting that Terra Madre is often in the fall, and if there was any room to reconsider.
We have beaten ourselves up about just the issue of when can we stage it weather-wise, when can we stage it when there's not competing with other events, and unless something unforeseen materializes, I think this is when we will be doing it, and though fully aware that in many ways not ideal.
Okay. Let me just verify it. Okay.
Are there any other questions?
Okay. Let me double check.
Address. Otherwise, that this sure gives you.
Be right there, Justin.
Some real excitement for something that we are looking forward to sharing, the slow food stories, the vast and colorful slow food stories from around the nation. And thrilled that you were able to join us on this call to get at least some of the early insight as to the shape and tone and structure and business model for this gathering. So with that, I think we can call it a day. It is Bastille Day. I certainly hope that you consider a French-inspired cocktail by the end of the day. If your day is not nearing an end, you can look forward to that. Thank you for joining us out on the West Coast. I know this time doesn't always work for everyone. We hope that 4 p.m. Eastern Time gave enough opportunity for everyone to join us. We will be putting this online, so if there are any details you want to follow up, you can certainly encourage others to listen or to listen yourselves. Please consider sending any queries or concerns to sfnsales@slowfoodusa.org. We'll be checking that, and we'll be putting more and more details online. And we sure are excited about this, and we look forward to working with you to construct an amazing gathering in Denver precisely a year from now. So thanks so much, and we look forward to talking soon. And I'll, let's see, I can unmute everyone so everyone can say goodbye. Isn't that something we have the capability of doing? Let's see if we can, if you can. Is it difficult to unmute? It might be. Okay, you've muted yourself. So, all right, there we go. There's the noise I was hoping to hear. Thanks so much for being here.
Bye, everyone.
Thank
Bye.
you.
We'll talk soon.
Bye. Thank you for your presentation.